All right, my friends, today in math, we're talking about lesson 12:4, wholes and equal parts. And you are actually already pretty good at this. We do this all the time in Simple Solutions. There might just be a couple of things you want to slow down on to make sure that you don't speed through it and make mistakes that you didn't really mean to make. So, all right, so let's talk about just a couple of things before we go into our lesson. All right, and I'm sorry about the glare from the overhead lights. In this lesson, we've got wholes and equal parts here. I had to use the back of the thing where we usually put our indoor recess things. Gosh, remember that? Indoor recess. I haven't thought about that in a month. Anyway, I had to erase those things. So anyway, oh, there goes the big boo. Anyway, we've got a couple of things we're going to talk about in this lesson. We're going to talk about wholes, which the whole is, of course, you already know this. The whole is the part that is in just the black outline right there. That is considered the whole. That's WHOLES, not HOLE, which would be a hole like a hole in the ground. So when we're in math and we're talking about the whole something, the whole pizza, that is WHOLES. And then equal parts means exactly what it sounds like, equal parts. We can't divide it into parts that aren't equal, or that is not what we're talking about. Equal parts, which means to the best of my ability, I have drawn each of these parts to be the same size. All right, so we've got a circle, and it is divided into halves. And I want you to notice that word right there, halves. Look at this vocabulary. The word half, like I would like a half cup of milk, is HALF. But some words in the English language, when they have an F right here, when you make them plural, you have to turn the F to a V and then add ES. Same thing happens with knives. If you have a knife at the table, but if you have more than one, if there are knives that everybody's spot at the table, then you would have to change the F to a V. So I just want you to notice that when you're writing, it's not halves. You have to actually change the F to a V and add ES to say there are two halves. All right, and we've already talked about the word whole. We've got the word thirds, and we've got the word fourths. We don't divide it into fours, we divide it into fourths. We don't divide it into threes, we divide it into thirds. So those vocabulary words are going to be really important for two reasons. One, you're going to see them more often, so it's important that you get yourself familiar with them. And two, you are going to have tests where you need to be familiar with what those words look like. So I've got this circle right here, and it's divided into two halves. I've got this square right here, and it's divided into 3/3. And I've got this rectangle right here, and I've divided into 4/4, or I've divided it into fourths is another way you can say that. But what I really want you to pay attention to is look at this. To divide this into 4, how many dotted lines did I make? 3. Right, so if I'm going to divide something into 4, I only make 3 lines because those 3 lines are going to make 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at this one right here. I'm sorry, I'm going backwards. I divided this into thirds, but to make 3 parts, I only make 2 lines. Are you starting to see that pattern? Divide this into halves or into 2 parts, I make 1 line. Okay, so when you start doing your work, you have to remember that because you don't want to get too frustrated. Okay, so there's nothing we need to do on the front. Let's open up to the inside. Look at this. Remember those folders? I have it so nobody cheats on me. Cheats off of me, I guess is the word I'm looking for. All right, so are these parts equal? So here's the second part we want to talk about. We want to talk about equal parts because it's not divided into parts if they're not equal. Well, I mean, it is, but equal parts is what we're going for. So look at this. These are halves. These are not halves because halves means they're 2 equal parts. This isn't equal. All right, how about this one here? 3 equal parts. These are thirds. These are not thirds because they're not equal. 4 equal parts. These are fourths. These are not fourths because they're not equal. And there's other things that you can do too. So these are not fourths because those are not equal, but all of these are fourths. Why? Right, because no matter how you divide it into 4, All three of these examples show 4 equal parts. Can you see that? Those are 4 equal triangles inside there. These are 4 equal squares, and these are 4 equal really long rectangles. Okay, so as long as they're equal, it's fine. And some plane shapes, there are different ways to make them equal. Some of them there aren't. There's really no other way to divide a circle in half except for that way. All right, let's look at our guided practice. For each whole, circle 2 halves, 3/3, or 4/4. So let's look at this one right here. Is this divided into 2 halves, 3/3, or 4/4? Well, all you have to do is count the parts. There are 3. It's divided into 3, so it's divided into 3/3. So circle that. Number 2, how about this one here? Is this orange circle divided into 2 halves, 3/3, or 4/4? 2 halves, very good. All right, and then you're going to do the same for 3, 4. Let's talk about this one right here. Does this picture show thirds? Why or why not? Well, it's divided into 3. Does it show thirds? No, it does not. Why not? It doesn't show thirds because they're not equal. Look, this one's way bigger than these two. So it's not thirds because they're not equal. When you do independent practice, this is the stuff I wanted to talk to you about. You have to draw the line or lines to show equal parts. So remember, if whatever you have to divide it in, you have to divide it into 4 parts, so 3 lines. 3 parts, so 2 lines. Okay, be careful. You don't want, if you're dividing it into 4, so you can't draw 4 lines, or else you'll have too many parts. Okay, so be aware of that. Have an eraser handy if you need to. Okay, and then down here you're doing number 11. So you are working on 1 through 14. All right. Good luck. I know you can do it.